Christmas time, and my boss calls me up. He's Jewish, and says, "How many people working at your office there in Nashville?" And I said, "There's 11 of us." He said, "I want you to go down and buy everybody there a turkey or a ham, whichever they choose." I said, "Well, that's awful generous of you, Ted." And he said, "That's my pleasure. Now you go and do it today." So I got my friend Harry, who worked with me there, and he knows a lot about turkeys and hams, and we drove down to the H.G. Hill grocery store. And we parked the car, and we go in, and we go back there. First of all, I went around and asked everybody who wants a ham, who wants a turkey. They all wanted hams because they seemed to be more valuable. So we went in and we picked out the prettiest hams we could find. And Harry put a special ham up in the basket where the children normally would sit. That was going to be his ham because it was bigger and prettier than all the other hams. And so we go to push the cart to the cashier, and she's checking out, and I'm paying, and Harry takes the cart. He said, "I'm going to push the cart on out to the car." I said, "Okay." So I gave him the keys, and he unlocked the door and put the hams up, and I went out there, and he said, "I'll push the cart back to the sidewalk." And I got in the car and started the car, and I put it in reverse, and I backed it up out of the parking spot, and the car went, and I thought, "Oh my goodness, I have run over a small child right here just before Christmas," and it was terrible. And I got out and I walked around and I looked. Well, here's what I saw. Here's Harry. Harry is standing there with his hands in his pocket, and he's looking down. And I looked down while I run over Harry's ham. He had set his ham out by the door where the passengers sit, so I wouldn't get it mixed up with all the other hams. And when I backed up, I ran right over it. And so Harry looks at me. I look at Harry, and he's getting pretty mad about this. So I open the door, and he sits down, and I pick up the ham and lay it into his lap. And I go back around, and we're driving back to the office.
Has Harry got pooch lip in it?
Harry is, and I'm looking at Harry, and Harry's looking at me. The madder he gets, the more I get tickled. Finally, I start to laugh, and Harry says, "Ain't nothing funny about this." He said, "Look what you've done." I couldn't choke out a word. So in a minute, he said, "Jimmy," I laughed so hard, actually, we were talking about it a while ago. I laughed so hard I farted. And Harry says, "Tidwell, you smell that?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "This is a blessing in disguise." I said, "Well, how so?" He said, "You smell that?" He said, "This ham is spoiled." Well, I just came all unglued. We got back, and he took his ham and put it in his car and took it home and put it up on the sink when he got home. His wife, Sonia Faye Robinson,
You always said it.
she says, "What's that?" He said, "That's a ham Tidwell bought me." Well, what do you expect me to do with it? Well, the wrapper was all torn and there were stones in it and everything. He said, "Well, cook it." So the next day he came back and he said, "Tidwell, that was the best ham we ever had." And every day from then on, every Christmas from then on, he called me and said, "Tidwell, I got my new Christmas ham. Can you meet me down in the parking lot and run over it?" True story.
Harry and the ham.
Harry and ham.
I love it.